Yo, what's going on, guys? I'm just gonna jump straight into the profile. Marincess is one of my favorite decks. Can't say enough about it. It's a one card wombo combo type of deck, but it's super duper linear and super duper predictable. And the normal summon is really bad. If it gets stopped, you're screwed. But other than that, the deck can go ballistic off of one card. Fell in love with the deck. So let's just start off. Blue Tang is very similar. If you've ever played Salamangreat, it's very similar to Foxy and Gazelle combined into one card. If you've never seen the card, it's one of the best starters in the game. However, again, guys, this deck is super duper normal summon reliant, and it's super duper linear. So again, if you get stopped sometimes with certain hand traps, this deck just gets bodied. However, if it doesn't get stopped like that, it can actually stun the hell out of your opponent and actually shock a lot of people. So Blue Tang, very good, very powerful starter, one of the best in the game. Triple Seahorse. With Seahorse, it used to be the starter. Now it's kind of a Crusadia for them. You usually want to dump it off of Blue Tang. If you open this, you can still do your combos. You can still completely get up to a Link 3 without having another Marincess card. However, if you have these two, then you're probably going to have a wombo combo, and we'll get into that when we touch the extra deck. But Seahorse, definitely interesting, definitely important to the deck, and you definitely have to play 3 in my personal opinion. Double Pascalis. Pascalis is the marauding captain of the deck. I have another version of this deck that I'm going to try to upload next week. It's going to have Scripton, Sea Archiver, and obviously 4-Mood Skipper. There's another way to play this deck where you don't have to play Pascalis. You can pretty much, I got this off in the Marincess group, but you can not have to worry about getting this stopped. Not that anybody's playing Valor or Impermanence, but getting this effect stopped cuts off pretty much everything else with the Marincess stuff, because this is Marauding Captain-esque, and that it needs to resolve in order for this to actually be effective. That being said, to banish this from the grave to special, to banish this to grab a spell or trap, it's just a really solid card. A Marincess related spell or trap. It's a really solid card, but I definitely can understand not playing it because it's not a one card combo like the rest of the deck. Getting into some of the last Marincess cards, I'm playing 2 Mandarin. Mandarin is a very interesting card. It's pretty much a one of most of the time, but however, I like 2. You special summon it when you have 2 or more Marincess monsters on the field, and you want to summon it to a zone that a link monster points to, usually a Marincess card, obviously. But Mandarin is very good. It spams out onto the field and can help you facilitate big link plays. Rounding out some of the water stuff, I played 2 Stana and 1 Angler. I don't like Angler that much just because it has a really bad back effect of you can't special from your hand for the rest of the turn. And sometimes you can have weird hands where you may need to use Seahorse later in the turn and you wouldn't be able to. But as far as that's concerned, it's a really solid water monster, and it's a level 4, so it's just really good. Same with Stana. I just did this for the variety, and then there's some other water cards that I could talk about. But again, like the Toad engine, the Paleo stuff, the Swap Frog stuff. But I just like these right now because I just like Bahamut Shark. I just like making Dweller more often, and so on and so forth. You know, I could go on and on about that. Getting into the cards that can actually help you hang with other decks is the hand trap lineup. 3 Ash, 3 Ghost Bell. Forgive the mismatched rarity Ghost Bells. Ghost Bell is absolutely disgusting right now. It's like Ash's twin sister that's like evil. Ghost Bell is just nuts right now. I feel like you could play Skullmeister somewhere in here, but I pick Crow for right now just because I like completely getting rid of stuff. But I definitely understand how powerful the Skullmeister is. And I do like having a hand trap that's a 1700. So if you feel like Skullmeister should be in here, I would definitely do not play Impermanence right now. Please don't play Impermanence right now. People usually play Impermanence in this deck. That is not a good or bright idea as we speak. Moving on, getting into the spells. And again, I don't have a side for this, guys. I usually play this online a lot, but I just have the cards in real life, so I like to build it and actually do a profile on it. Triple Signet Mining. Obviously, if I open Blue Tang, I grab another one. I usually just grab what I don't have, or I just try to like not completely commit to the cyanide mining, because sometimes if, like, let's say I activate cyanide mining and I pitch a Seahorse and I need to get to blue Tang and I don't have another Marincess card, like, be careful pitching a Marincess card sometimes, because sometimes getting hit with a hand trap can completely end your turn, just like getting your normal summon stopped. But I mean, that's just the weakness of the deck, and that's why it's a rogue deck. Getting into some of the other cards, I played 2 talents. I played 2 desires. I feel like you always interact with your opponent, and whenever you have a deck that you feel like your opponent is going to want to interact with, talents is definitely a good card. I wouldn't say it's great in this deck because you can't necessarily link away the cards if you get locked under the water restrictions, but it's a very, very powerful card, and usually can help you to survive a turn by ripping a card out of your opponent's hand. Usually. It could obviously be some other cards, but I also like to draw into the hand traps that I just showed you a second ago. Getting into the other cards, some of the one-ofs, Call by the Grave, the Marincess Battle Ocean that makes your cards unaffected if you use it in unison with the Crystal Heart. It's just really, really good. And then the other spells, Reborn's Nuts, can help you completely wipe a game out, end a game, or completely come back into a game. It's actually really, really nuts in this deck because you can just bring back the big links and make big plays very, very quickly off the card. Foolish can be another copy of any of the Marincess cards. And then obviously you need to push through, so you probably want to have your consistency and the ability to push through what your opponent is trying to do. And that's pretty much all for the spells. And then with the traps, I'm not playing Impermanence, again, because it's just not good against Drytron, and it's really not that good against Virtual World, in my opinion. But 3 Marincess Wave, 3 Solemn Strike. Marincess Wave is basically Eagle Booster for them and an Impermanence, and it's archetype specific. And then Solemn Strike is disgusting right now. I really like the card. However, I don't feel like it's maximized in this deck, but I didn't want to play Judgment because that's not good at all going second. Strike is a little bit better. Getting in the extra deck to round out everything. Again, I am getting screwed by USPS, where I completely ordered an Access Code Talker like long before Christmas happened and never got it. So Access Code Talker should be in here. So let's just call this a proxy. This is Access Code Talker because I have Transcode Talker back here. Obviously, with Transcode, you want to be able to jump into the play. You grab the link 3s and you link up. Y'all know how that goes with Transcode. Transcode, Access Code, highly recommended. I would recommend them over anything because they're just both really, really powerful. And while you're not going to have the most amount of different attributes, it still is going to make Access Code really, really strong in this deck to be able to clear space and just end the game, because if you have that and some big Marincess monsters on the board, the game is pretty much over. The card that makes everything unaffected, and the reason you play this deck, Crystal Heart, very, very solid. Double Anemone. Anemone is probably the best Marincess extra deck monster. It just can help you to like connect your plays and then jump into the big links a lot quicker. It probably wouldn't be super duper possible without it. Marbled Rocket 1 is more resource management and being able to protect your board and protect cards from being destroyed by battle by pitching Marincess cards. Really, really underrated how good that card can be in the clutch. And then the other 2 Link Force, Bubble Reef, more so for the defensive aspect of the deck, although it can put in a hell of a lot of work. But being able to just completely send the water monster and then special summon some stuff, like it just helps you to grab and accrue the advantage even when it's not just you summoning the Marincess monsters. Really, really powerful card. Wonderheart is the card that you want to use when you're using on offense, because it basically can help you when these are equipped all behind it, can help you to spam out some of the other monsters and try to go for game. You're usually not going to OTK with this deck, but every now and again you just put so much pressure on your opponent, and if they don't have a way to deal with the unaffected monsters, then the game just goes downhill for your opponent. And then rounding out the links, the blue Slugs, obviously because they're the starters and the wheels to everything before you start anything. However, it is very, very important for you to know that you get locked into water monsters. Make sure you hear me clearly. You get locked into water monsters. You don't always have to use that effect, but you get locked into water monsters the second that you use that. So take with that what you will. If you've never seen this deck, I'm just explaining that before you even touch this deck. Marincess Sea Angel is how you grab the field spell, and Splash Mage is just the perfect connector in the deck, and it just fits so well into this deck that it's actually insane. Rounding out the extra deck, and I'm going to have some cards to talk about on the side. It's totally awesome. Abyss Dweller and Bahamut Shark. No, I'm not playing the frogs in this deck. They're just not that phenomenal in the deck. And I don't want to draw a bunch of frogs when I'm staring down a Vanity's Ruler and stuff like that. Like, that's just not a good idea in my opinion. I mean, this deck's already going to struggle to compete, but you definitely don't want to play those cards and just walk right into stuff that you cannot deal with. If you walk into a VFD with a Choo-Choo, you're going to get your head taken completely off. If you walk into a bunch of Eldritch stuff and you get your normal messed up by a Conquistador, you know, like, it's just so much that you have to worry about, that I would highly recommend trying to figure out the best way to deal with those decks. I feel like the best way to deal with those decks is definitely not playing the frogs. Touching on some of the cards, I'm not doing a side deck because that obviously is going to matter wherever you are, and if you actually care about playing Marincess. But some people like to watch and observe and try out new decks they've never seen. Some love Marincess. Marincess actually is insanely popular, but that's, again, my reasoning was behind that. I'd highly recommend, if you were to side, I would highly, I'm going to keep saying highly as many times as I can, highly recommend White Howling, just for the simple fact, if you've never seen this card. Again, this card says if you control a water monster, target one spell in your opponent's graveyard and banish it, and if you do, for the rest of the turn, negate all spell effects on your opponent's field. Now, it's not the best meta for that, but this can destroy certain matchups. That's all I'm going to say. And it can help you protect your board state as long as you don't get hit with evenly matched. Most of the time, this deck just has a stranglehold on resources once it gets out ahead of you. So that's the deck's strength. And then obviously you can play some Kaijus. You can play some Trap Trick stuff and play Torrential and Storm Duster, so on and so forth. If you wanted to play the card to search Torrential and then set Torrential, you could, but I don't like my opponent knowing that Torrential is there, so that's why I decided against that. And then obviously you just got the other some other cards. Probably if you want to play a Trap Trick in the side, you're probably gonna want to do it. You can play a Go First version of this deck built around Trap Trick. Good luck with that. Goals and Match has always been a decent floodgate, and it'll fit very, very well in this deck. And if you really want to get to the Marincess Mandarin, I guess you could play 1-for-1. I'm not doing a side, as I said before, guys, just giving you some options: the artifact package, the White Howling, so on and so forth, the floodgates, etc., etc. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. I will have another version of this deck where we talk about Sea Archiver, Scripton, and Four-Mood Skipper, because I really feel like if you don't like Pascalis, just to show you guys, if you don't like this card, then Four-Mood Skipper is literally a one-card Marincess. And I can explain in a further video. Let me know down in the comments what you think about Marincess. What you love? Do you love the deck? Do you hate the deck? Would you ever play this deck in your life? Do you think this deck is dog shit? Let me know down in the comments, and I'll see you next time. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Make sure you show up on Wednesdays on the Owl's Nest and get into some online competition. I'm out of here, guys. YG, baby.